Gene, before we start today, I have to give a shout out to Scott Eggleston, friend of the show.
He's not even here.
He's not here, but
What's up with that?
But I do need to say, if he has not seen the movie we're doing today, Ex Machina, you need to stop listening to us right now and go watch that, and then come catch us back, because it's right in your Twilight Zone realm of movies.
He's probably seen it.
I would assume he has, but if you haven't, Scott, stop listening to us now, because of course it's Gene and Roger Talk Movies.
Yeah, well,
we spoil everything. But Gene, where are you at with Ex Machina?
Ex Machina. I love this movie. I'll just throw it out there. I saw it a long time ago. It's 2014. It's from my favorite production company.
Well, let me
yeah.
jump in right there, because it's not. What happened?
Somewhere in the way, A24 got
right.
hold
What
of it.
happened with this movie? It's a Universal Pictures production. And I was doing some research, because you get the big Universal logo, and then A24 shows up, and I'm like,
I don't think A24 is before.
Wait a minute,
I don't know
right?
if the order matters.
And so what happened was Universal, in their significant wisdom or whatever, decided that no, we're not going to release this in the United States, and so they put it out for bids of anyone who wanted to release it, and A24 stepped in. So that's the extent, really, of
Universal.
A24.
See the big corporations,
right.
you know.
Yeah, this is not
a great movie.
This is not a Fast and the Furious movie that we can franchise, so we're not interested in releasing it in the United States, right? And I'm going like, well, you greenlit the movie. What did you think it was? Some big robot Holocaust kind of movie or something?
Just read the script.
Yeah.
There are three characters, really, in the whole movie.
Anyway, go ahead, Gene.
Yeah, the movie's tagline, we're horror guys, and some people might think, well, is this really horror? I think this is horror, because to me, horror is two things: some kind of deformation of the human form, and it should affect you on some level. And it affects me because it's all about the being others, you know. Like, this movie is a lot like the Mutants and Freaks, believe it or not, which we've reviewed, because it's all about people that are different from you, and that because people are different from you, you treat them differently, you isolate them, you don't trust them, you know, you're looking over your shoulder at them. So because Eva is different, it's treated different, you know, and it has that otherness to it, which is uncomfortable, because our current society, or America in general, is all about right now other people. Like, if they look different than you, then maybe you don't trust them, or you're something along those lines. Just because they're different from you, or just because they're different from you, they're not worthy of legal representation or due rights or whatever. Well, we're not going to go down that road, but
no, we are not.
But certainly, you know, this is the culture we live in now, and this movie, you know, in its own way addresses that. And the deformation of the human form, it clearly does that, because part of the what's happening is Nathan is a brilliant inventor. He created Eva, this robot, but Eva's a process. There's been others before Eva, and along the way, Caleb, the guy who was come in to test Eva, he finds a video of Nathan really just kind of killing the other ones before Eva, and so and then he like takes off their skin and so. And we see them in different stages of construction, and it's just, it's definitely the human form being strongly, strongly manipulated. But I really like this movie. There's a lot going on, a lot of really deep themes. It's good stuff.
Right. The general premise is, yes, this Nathan, whatever, he's like...
Oscar Isaac.
He's Oscar Isaac doing a great performance. And he's basically this guy who's made billions of dollars off of like a Google knockoff kind of thing, search engine thing. And so he's gone down the road of trying to create this AI robot. And he's bringing in Caleb under false pretenses. Oh, hey, you won this contest.
It's a fake contest.
Yeah, and so he brings him in basically to do, what was it, the Turing test?
Turing test.
Right, on to determine if it's a thinking AI, if it can actually think and really interact in a way that you would not be able to tell it's not AI. But
I think is it human?
Right.
Is it human?
And so one of the things I like about that setup, though, is when you see the robot. What's the name of that robot again? Ava, something like that.
Yeah, Eva.
Human face, but everything else is basically a robot. So visually, you can tell,
hands.
right? You can tell this is not a human being. And so I liked how they set that up, where you're going to put this robot through these tests to determine if you would be confused, whether it's a robot or actually able to think and do things kind of independently. So it's a nice setup. The cinematography for this is amazing as
Amazing,
well.
and won an Academy Award. I think, is it for that?
It was for the special effects, of course, because the work, the actress who plays the robot, it is very well digitally enhanced with robot parts and things like that, and it's pretty seamless.
It looks seamless.
Yeah,
that she is a robot. Yeah,
right.
Because only her face and her hands are.
And so the conflict arises when the robot starts intimating to Caleb, the guy who's kind of testing her, that maybe Nathan is not who he says he is. He's a liar. He's manipulative and all this. And so there's a lot of really good dialogue back and forth between Caleb and Nathan and Caleb and Eva, leading to this interesting climax. Gene is saying it's a horror film. It does fit his definition of horror. I'm not looking at this as a horror film. There's some elements to it that could be kind of considered horror. To me, this is more of a sci-fi drama, but a good one. And I think people who are into horror movies, you're in relatively safe territory here. It's not any sort of gore fest or crazy thing like that. But as far as the quality of the film, very high quality. Cinematography is excellent. Soundtrack is excellent. Acting is superb by all three main leads.
Yeah. I said there were three. There's really four.
Right. There's a fourth one. Nathan has this assistant
slash geisha.
Right.
Jeez.
And he's like, she can't speak or understand English or whatever and all this stuff. But of course, there's a reveal later as to what's really going on there. But I just really do like this movie. But I also, as I was thinking about it this morning on the way here, this is probably a movie I'm never going to watch again, because once you know how it plays out, I'm like, well, okay, that was a good movie. Is it something that's rewatchable in my mind? There's no reason for me to ever see it again.
Really, I could watch it again.
Well, and you've watched it more than once already.
Yeah, like today. Could I watch it right now? Yeah, it's entertaining. It's not high action like a Terminator like that. It's a different kind of movie, but does the movie have great pacing? Is it a great plot? Yes, it is all of that.
You're never bored.
Never bored. It's interesting. Only 4 characters, but it's written well. You're never bored. That's a great way to put it. It just moves, even though there's not action. Well, there is at the end. And it's interesting. It's just like it's a vehicle to really understand human nature. This movie, because you really get to understand all the characters there, because you get to understand Nathan, that he's really not as smart as he thinks he is. Because he does some very questionable things, and some are just downright stupid. And then the character that's brought in, Caleb, to do the questioning. And again, he is not as smart as he thinks he is, because Eva questions and tells Caleb not to trust Nathan. But it's actually Caleb shouldn't trust her, because she is the one manipulating Caleb, because her main goal is to get out. And so she sees this new guy come in, only the second human male she's ever seen in her whole life. but she's smart enough to kind of like judge this guy and to figure him out and to kind of push his buttons, and she does it masterfully. And so by their 7th interview, he is like she owns him.
Yeah.
And she owns that guy. And then he just does some pretty sly things to get her out. And then once she's released, and then also you have to bring up the character, the Coco character, because I think this Nathan kind of invented her to be like a servant / geisha. They do a dance routine together, but kind of a companion, kind of
little sex toy.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. But he thinks that she is brainless. But we also go into a part where Nathan shows Caleb like the lab where Eva was created, and Nathan shows Caleb her brain, and that it's not this collection of circuits, but it's fluid.
Right. And
fluid implies that it's malleable, that it can go into different directions. It's fluid. And so if Kyoko has this kind of brain, which she does, then she has abilities that I think Nathan doesn't catch. She is beyond what he thinks she is, and then allows, Eva to join her side to help her escape.
Right, and there was some close-up camera shots when Nathan and Caleb are having a heated discussion where it's close-up on Kyoko, as you can tell she knows what they're actually talking about.
Right, yeah, she can understand.
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
right.
So her whatever he did initially with her to set up like, oh, she can't speak or whatever, she's learning how to do
She's
all
learned,
that.
right.
Because
right.
they talk back when Caleb and Nathan are talking about, because there's a lot of interplay between those two characters with tension continuing to rise. Right. And there's that whole sequence where they're talking about how is language learned, right?
Yeah,
You're not born with it, is it, and all this stuff. And so it's really talking about that Kyoko character ultimately, who is learning stuff as time passes.
Yeah. And so it's just really great just to see all of their characters and how they evolve and how it actually turns out. And it turns out the name of the movie comes from the phrase, was it Latin?
It's Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah. And it means like something, it's like, I guess God in the machine is it's...
Gene, I can tell you were not an English lit major.
I studied English, but I didn't get into this. But I guess it refers to a plot device. Whereas like if you're watching a movie and then something just happens kind of out of the blue to solve a lot of problems. And it kind of makes me think of, people might get mad at me, but it makes me think of the first Star Wars movie, A New Hope. Mm-hmm. Is at the end, Luke is flying down the corridor and Darth Vader has Luke in his sights. Top Gun pilot. He should have had him, but then Han Solo flies in with his big fat, Millennium Falcon, shoots those guys, and then Luke can take the shot. That's a perfect example.
Well, I'm gonna give you a pushback on that a little bit.
Because where did that come from?
No.
And it just kind of doesn't make sense. It just solves a lot of problems. It comes out of the blue. It's like the cavalry riding in at the last second. I mean, at the time, you're like, whoa, oh yeah, he changed his mind. He's not a mercenary.
The more obvious Deus Ex Machinas are, here's a character you've never met before saving the day. Or here's a random lightning strike that suddenly gets the hero out of a situation they could never get out of.
Yeah.
Han Solo in that sequence, that's earned, right? And that's part of his whole character arc as well. So it was not completely out of the blue like a random thing happening that has no connection to anything else. So in the reason Deus Ex Machina came about was you had these Greek authors that would write their character into a corner somewhere where there's no escape.
And then something, boom.
Zeus would come down or Hera would come down or whatever and save the day for everyone.
And somebody who hadn't been in the story, you're saying.
Right. That's the Deus Ex Machina. And this one, I think the reason they dropped the Deus part, although they could have kept it, because at one point Caleb is talking to Nathan, and they're talking about, well, you're kind of like a god with what you're doing here.
Yeah, at the very beginning, because
and then he twists that.
he creates life.
He twists that line to where, oh yeah, when I do the press release, I'm going to say, you know, we're going to have this dialogue, and I'm going to say how, yeah, and then Caleb told me I was God. And he's sitting here going, I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Right, and he did it, but that just goes to how Nathan's thinking is. He's thinking he's God, that he can create life.
He's pretty arrogant, rich, relatively smart, arrogant guy.
Well, and he did create life because Eva she is alive.
Right.
She is alive.
But I think the ex machina part is really just the of the machine part. And so that fits perfectly with what's going on here in this movie. So I like the title a lot.
Yeah, I like the title a lot too. Yeah, if you can pronounce it right.
Right. Yeah. If you caught last week's episode, I helped Gene with his understanding of how to pronounce that. And again, not an English lit major, so not a crime. But this film, again, the dialogue and just the way the director can frame how the dialogue is working, right? Because you can have dialogue scenes where, okay, it's the same dialogue, but because you don't have it framed right and because you don't know when to cut back and forth and things like that, it's not as intense or tense. Because this movie, the dialogue is very tense. Caleb is meeting this boss of his entire multi-billion, trillion-dollar organization.
Yeah, he's the head guy.
For the very first time in this island or compound way out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's an actual hotel in Norway.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he's a fish out of water for sure. And then this guy who's supposed to be this really big shot guy, he's acting different than what you would expect. He's working out. He's talking about how he was really drunk the night before and all this stuff. And you're like, whoa, this is really off-putting. And I think a lesser movie, like The Mutations, for example, would have had a big reveal at the end that, oh, Caleb was replaced by AI a long time ago and he's not actually a human anymore and all this. And they didn't go down the cheap, easy route.
Although it's interesting you say that, because at the end of the movie, Caleb starts to doubt his own humanity. He gives himself a human test where he gets a razor blade and he cuts open his own arm. And at first I thought that was a dream sequence, but it wasn't, because then Nathan refers to it later. I saw you on video, he says. So it's just the whole thing of like otherness thing.
Right, and I liked that sequence where he's like, okay, things are really weird here. Stuff that I had never expected to see, I'm seeing. Yeah, I better check to make sure I'm actually a human being. And so I liked that scene.
Yeah, it was good.
And I'm glad the director and story writer didn't go like, oh yeah, you are actually an android now. And so
that would have been cheap. It would have ruined the movie.
It would have been really lame.
Yeah.
And I think the performance from the Eva character is very good as well, because you can sense kind of the naive nature at the beginning, but then it kind of is going into the planning and the stuff like that. And it's very subtle.
Learner. She's a quick learner.
And she also has this power where she can overload the security system, and so she can go into these periods where it's just her talking to Caleb, and it's
good stuff.
Yeah, for sure, good stuff.
Yeah. And I'll come back to the horror element, because I don't know if I've really seen, but when Eva and Kyoko finally execute the plan, what it involves is, we're just telling everything. It's a plot. Here's a spoiler. So Nathan is killed. And it just shows, like, at the end, Kyoko is behind him, and Nathan is actually fighting with Eva on the ground because she gets out because of what Caleb has done through the computer system. And so they're fighting, and Kyoko stabs him with a knife. And then the knife gets pulled out, and then Eva picks it up. And then just like right in front of the camera, you just see Eva just plunge the knife into his stomach. That to me, that's really a horror, very horrific element. It's really... Because just to see it like right there, I mean, usually in movies, it's just not so blatant. Where you
You're
see
not
the
seeing all the movies I've seen, Gene.
But it's such a deliberate, premeditated way.
Well,
because this was planned out.
It's interesting though.
And they had to go.
Because
excuse me, finish thoughts. I said they, but Nathan had to go, and then also, Caleb had to go too.
Caleb realizes he's not as important as he thought he was in this whole plan.
Right.
But I do like the stabbing scene when Eva is stabbing him because she does it so slowly.
Right.
Almost like, I'm not really sure what's going to happen here, so I'm going to just do it slowly. And I like that because Gene used the term plunged. It's not,
No, it's not. It is slow.
It
is slow.
Yeah, there you go. I'm giving it to you.
It's slow and it's deliberate.
Yeah.
And is it there? That actually brings up a point. Is there like some malice there?
Mm-hmm.
And there actually could be, because she recruits Kyoko to help. He gets stabbed twice. And then Nathan just can't believe it, like what is going on, because he thought he was in control of this whole thing. And then he was in control until he wasn't.
Right.
And then when he wasn't in control, he really...
Right. It was over.
It was over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I also like the fact, too, that the AI robot Eva is not Terminator style, where I'm super strong and all this, because he's winning that fight with her.
Oh, yeah, he is.
Mm-hmm.
He is.
And so,
well, he kind of destroys one of her arms.
Right. And so I liked that where, it's not this super powered robot that can just smash.
Yeah, that
everything.
would have been cheap if she picked him up and threw
threw
him down the hallway. Yeah,
right.
That would have been really cheap. Yeah.
So, but lots of good themes here. Lots of great performances. The director, Alex Garland, I believe.
Yeah.
I
think he wrote it.
He knows what he's doing for sure. Claustrophobic sets don't seem that claustrophobic because of the way he lights them. And the dialogue is so crisp and filmed in such a way that the tension continues to rise. There's not a wasted scene in here at all, which is rare.
I agree.
It's 108 minutes long, and that's getting outside of my happy place. But there's no wasted scenes here. Every scene is important for what the ultimate outcome is going to be. And so, I like it a lot. I think it's a little bit outside the realm of what we normally talk about on this show as far as horror films. But again, a horror film person will probably have a good time.
You'll
with
like
this.
it. Yeah, you'll like it. And I like at the end, it's like there's the last girl element even, because Eva escapes, helicopter comes, picks her up. She goes back to, I think, probably New York. But then at the end, you see her dressed in clothes that are different than what she used to escape, which implies that she has integrated herself successfully into society. Which brings itself, because I love movies that you can just think about for a long time. And it just makes you wonder, it's like, well, how did she pull that off? Because she went on the helicopter, but she doesn't have a credit card. She's never had a job.
Right.
She has no resume. She doesn't have a social security card, birth certificate. So how does she pull that off? And does the skin on her, is it tight? Will it just come right off? There's lots of questions, Yeah, so I really like this movie.
Well, and luckily,
really like
we do not have a Ex Machina 2, which I'm thankful for.
Thankful.
So
some movies just need to be.
Right.
It's a great movie, and it's just over.
Right.
Yeah. There are no sequels, please.
So definitely worth seeing. Gene, anything final to say about this one?
No, it's good stuff.
So now we're at the most pleasant part of the show. What are we doing next week?
We haven't really talked about this,
No,
have
we have not.
Isn't there a new horror movie out?
Well, Gene, did you watch the Megan 2.0 trailer that I sent you?
Oh, my Lord. We're going to go back to this. That's right, you sent me a text.
With the
I
trailer
hated Megan
attached.
one so badly.
Okay.
I just don't know if I can pull myself up the ladder.
Here's what I need you to do, because Megan 2.0 I don't believe is appropriate for the show. You need to see the trailer and see the direction they're going with that.
Is it horror comedy?
I would say I would leave horror completely out of it. It is like a bizarre riff on maybe Terminator 2 or something. You've got to see the preview.
So it's just like pure action?
It appears to be.
Because I don't know if I would even call Terminator 2 horror, because
It's not.
It's just
No.
pure action.
There's no
See,
horror
there's a
going
difference
on.
between these. It's like you think, oh, Terminator 2 with a huge body count. Well, why not? You know, but it's just action.
No, I think this is an action comedy that they're going for, where Megan has to get reborn to fight a much more dangerous version of her.
Oh, so she's Terminator 2. She's
Uh-huh.
actually the good guy.
Right.
Oh my
Yeah.
lord.
So please watch that trailer. We will not
I'll watch
be
the trailer.
We will not be doing that on this show because it does not appear to have any connection to horror at all, other than being a sequel to Megan. But that leaves us still with we have no idea what we're doing next week.
Yeah. What about there was a movie where a woman's turning into a dog?
I don't want to do Night Bitch. I really don't.
I actually read that book. Yeah, it's okay.
I think,
But-
I think what we need to do.
But since I read the book, maybe I should watch the movie.
Well, okay.
She turns into a dog.
Why don't you watch it, and then if you really, really, really love it, let me know, and maybe we'll do that. But I think how I'm going to end this episode is, and we've ended this way many times, we have no idea what we're doing next week, but something will happen. So thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.